this is the first project where I'll get to use my new film cart. I bought it like over a month ago and I haven't even used it yet. I had another project that I thought for sure I was going to use it on, and I would have, but the project kind of fell through. So this is my first time, getting to use it. It will save me multiple trips out to my truck. So I don't have to go very far, as you'll see, but it'll be nice to save me a few trips, and it gives me a little practice on seeing how quickly I can set it up. So this cart pretty much lives in my pickup. Unfortunately, my house has a deck with steps on it to the front door, so I can't load up all of my gear on the cart in the house and then take it out to my pickup. And as you saw at the beginning of the video, I still have to carry everything out. Usually it takes me about 3, 4, 5 trips out to the truck, which is okay. I just think of it as getting some exercise, I guess. But, so the cart, it essentially stays in the back of my truck. That and the C-stands, which it kind of works out for me because they're both are so heavy that it weighs down the bed of my truck, and it, keeps my truck from fishtailing in the winter when the roads can be kind of bad. So I guess it works out in that regard, that I just keep it in the back of the truck. Plus, I really have no room in my office to store it anyways. And one thing I've learned using this cart on a couple different jobs after this one, and you'll probably see it in, I think, the next vlog, is I've learned to just keep the wheels on, and not take them off after every time I'm done using it. I just keep the wheels on. I fold the arms up and collapse it, and then it's still able to fit in the back of my truck. So that saves me a little time too, and I don't have to fuss with these wheels. And here I am loading it up with all of my gear. The only items that make it a hassle are my C-stands, and I just set those on top. I'm definitely carrying quite a load on the cart, and I knew I would. That's why I went with the 10-inch wheels. I watched a review, I think it was from Justin Porter on YouTube, where he reviewed like 6 or 8 different carts, I want to say. I'll link to it in the description. And in his review, some of the carts with smaller wheels, they look to be a little iffy. And it was after watching his review that I kind of made my decision to go with the Adicam cart. It seemed to be the perfect balance of, features as well as the price point, at least for me. And then I did upgrade to the bigger wheels just because I knew I had a lot of gear to take with me, and sometimes I don't know, being from Montana, sometimes on gravel roads or could be out in the middle of nowhere, who knows. So that's why I went with those upgrades, so it can be a little awkward with my C-stands on top, but overall I would say it gets the job done. So I'm filming here at our local tribal library. This is the same location where I did an interview with my wife in vlog number 3, I think it is. And I've actually filmed quite a few interviews here at the library. But today just happened to be an especially, kind of beautiful day. The light was hitting just right. The library has an atrium that has these floor to ceiling windows, which lets lots of light in. So I wanted to try and use, all of that light to my advantage. It was a fall day here, so the sun, stayed pretty low in the sky. It was still early morning here, maybe like 8:30. We weren't doing the interviews until like 10, so the light wasn't gonna change too much. And here I am trying to find the best angle to shoot from. And then once I find an angle that I think will work, I start setting things up piece by piece and making adjustments as I move along. So I had to move some furniture around in order to make room for some of my gear and in order to frame the shot properly. Like I said, I've filmed here before, so I know, how the furniture is laid out. But I guess a tip for anyone that may have to move furniture around or rearrange a space on a set is to take a picture of what the room looks like before you rearrange it. That way when you're finished and you need to put things back together, you can go back to your photo and you can set it up the way that you found it, just to be courteous.
So I was thinking of doing something like this and having the subject sit here, and then we'll put the lights on them. But the problem is this window in the back, you'll see the lights up. So what I'm thinking of doing is moving us back. Let's see. Here, shooting like that. Shooting this way. That way we still have a lot of depth in the background, but I don't have to worry about the reflection. The only issue with this is the sun's going to be moving, so the shadows are going to shift during the interview. So I'm guessing each interview is going to be about maybe a half hour long. Decisions.
So I just ended up going for it there. My main focus was hiding the light from the reflection in the background. And the best way to do that was to just not have the window in the shot. But that meant more of the direct sunlight was going to be in the shot. And the risk that I was running there was that in the beginning, would I be able to match the look of, say, the beginning of the first interview with the end of the second interview, which was probably going to take place, maybe a half hour to an hour later? Is that shift in the shadow going to be really noticeable? Or even sometimes when you interview someone, they might say something at the end of a 30-minute interview that was related to something that they said at the beginning of the interview, and you want to stitch those two things together. In your mind, you're asking, did the shadows shift too much to where it's going to be noticeable? Am I able to hide it well enough that people won't notice? Those are things that you have to think about. Generally, I like to give myself about an hour to an hour and a half to set up for interviews. I could probably even do it sufficiently in like 45 minutes, but I don't like feeling like I'm rushed. The more time I have, the better I feel. Because I'm constantly making adjustments throughout, even micro adjustments, and that goes without mentioning all the time it takes to assemble everything, much less setting it up and putting it together. So the more time I have, I think the better the final product looks, and I always try and budget that time in to make sure that that's accounted for when developing like a production schedule. So this is what the subject is going to see. The interviewer is going to be here. Overhead mic. I got the light. I wish it was a little brighter. I need to get a brighter one. I had to put this up to block out the sun. Otherwise it was right on the subject. But we haven't started yet, but the sun it's already gonna be out of their eyes by the time we start. But I put that up because if we started sooner, I was gonna need that. So in terms of my setup, I'm calling this the if it ain't broke, don't fix it setup. This is the FX6 with the 35 mil, and then I have a FX30 with 50 mil, which is essentially a 75 because it's a crop sensor. I have my Amaran 100D. I had my shotgun mic boomed overhead, and then I have this small rig. I think it's like a 60 watt light, I believe, and using that as a rim light or a hair light. Here are what a couple of the final frames ended up looking like. Overall, I was pleased with how they turned out. The only thing I wasn't too sure about was this line of light right here on their face. It popped into frame depending on how the subject was sitting. If they were leaning a little bit forward, you could see it. But if they were sitting, straight up or even back a little bit, you couldn't see it. I don't know. What do you think? Is it a big deal? Is it distracting? Should I have done something to cover that up, or is it okay? Either way, this is how the final product turned out. So here's my FX6 fully assembled, ready to go. Here's how I transport it. I just fold this in and down, fold the screen all the way down, and then I'm able to fit it into my bag. Now for everybody's favorite part of the process, the disassembling and putting everything away part. Have you guys ever left, or worse, lost something when you were breaking everything down and leaving? This past summer, I left the ND filters for my Osmo Pocket 3, which I used to film these vlogs. I left that behind after I finished the job. So I've just been shooting everything on the Osmo Pocket 3 in auto mode. I haven't even bothered with the shutter speed. All right, that's it for this vlog. I hope you found it valuable or useful. In my next vlog, I will be in beautiful Wyoming in the mountains, so you're not gonna want to miss that one. I got some really beautiful shots there, and I want you guys to see them. So all right, peace. I'll see you in the next one.